Such a dramatic intro.
Yes.
Dramatic intro. Good evening, everybody. Yes, your Texas Card Dude is on at night. It is a nighttime show, and I'm already tired, so this is going to be fun.
Well, Sam and I are fired up, so you just chill.
I know. Sam's here to fire us up and keep us in line. So without any introductions, it is the lovely, the amazing, the awesome Miss Sam of the hobby. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm excited to get into today's topics, or I guess tonight's topics, as you said. Yeah, looking forward to it.
And we have a stranger in the hobby. Nobody knows who he is. It is the great Chris Carlin. How are you, sir?
I'm so thrilled to be here. I've had some setbacks and haven't been able to come on the show. So this is my first appearance. So I'm very excited, and we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight.
I know it's an honor and a privilege, and I'm so glad you got to see me today.
Yeah, me too.
What is up, Mr. Logan, and how are you, Miss Jenny? It is very, very nice to see you. And of course, we got Logan Ward, NASCAR Hall of Famer, PSA Hall of Famer Logan Ward. What is up? We were talking beforehand. Chris, you wanted to hear a little bit about Sam's Women of the Hobby. I think it's a great topic. We're gonna do all good and positive awesomeness tonight. So let's start it off by hearing about Miss Sam's world.
Well, real quick. So I love this group because so often, we look at our demographics right now, and it's about 8 to 9% female collectors for Upper Deck. And I know that, some manufacturers may have slightly higher or lower, but we want to really shine a light on female collectors. So we've done a little bit of it, and I personally have kind of promoted that the Women in Cards group, because I think it is so important to have a safe place for women to talk and to not be, I don't know, just thought of as, people who may not be as into it as other collectors. And that's not the case. Female collectors, some of them are the sharpest, savviest collectors I know. So I think it's really cool what they've come up with. And Sam, yeah, please tell us a little bit more about it and how people can get involved.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, Chris, you kind of alluded to, the Women in Sports Cards. So there's a Facebook group that I believe Sarah Layton and Suze, who's also on, and Ty from Bullpen LA, they kind of all, I think, collectively got together. They're like the admins of that group. But they started that Facebook group, which initially I really didn't know about until I started Women of the Hobby. But that was kind of my main reasoning for starting Women of the Hobby, was recognizing pretty early on that, I'm in the minority in terms of a percentage of card collecting. So I was completely okay with that, but I did feel like the need to essentially have those people that, other women that I could talk to about cards and just kind of get their perspective too. So that really was a big reasoning for starting Women of the Hobby. And essentially with that, what I do is, interview different women. They're collecting, what they're doing within the hobby as well. So
we'd love to feature you on our blog as well, just to give people more information on how to get involved. I think that's really important. And Sam, I noticed you love Carolina, but I want to talk to you about Carolina hockey cards.
Oh, wow.
I need you to start taking a look at some of these and just giving hockey some love, because you've got a great team in Carolina. And
I know.
I want you to think about collecting some more hockey cards. That's all I'm saying.
I honestly should put it into my wheelhouse a little bit more. I say, I collect Carolina sports teams, and then people are like, what about hockey? And I'm like, well, maybe, but
we got to get you to a game. We got to get you to a game or something for sure.
Exactly.
Oh, so Chris, you said that Upper Deck had a huge day today.
We released a product called Monumental. So it's an Upper Deck authenticated blind box offering with 5 UDA signed items in every box. There are spokesman boxes where all 5 of the items will be from an Upper Deck spokesperson. And just some really cool content. With the way pricing and values are going right now, $1,500 for for 5 UDA items is a pretty darn good deal. So we had quite a bit available this morning, and we offered it, and it sold out very, very quickly without people having much notice about it. So as we look at trends, with regard to how the market's doing, what are market conditions like, a lot of people are saying they're seeing a slowdown, but for a memorabilia offering like that to sell out so quickly, I think is indicative of the fact that there's still a lot of people that are heavily invested in the category and looking to keep purchasing strong. So that was a good indicator and a good sign to see today.
Well, I'd be amiss, and I would probably get a thrashing from some of the peoples that I know if I didn't ask what is up or what was up with flagship hockey.
Well, I mean, it's much like everything. I pretty much all of our releases have been significantly delayed, just because getting time on press, materials, things along those lines. But I can share that Upper Deck Series 1 has been printing. The Young Guns are coming. I'm actually going to be releasing the checklist tomorrow, so folks will be able to see that. It's really happening, So
for real,
we're looking February-ish. I don't have a hard date quite yet, but it has been one of those situations where, man, we've just been snake bit by a variety of supply chain. Everyone hears it and over and over again, but it's really important for us to make sure we're putting out products that are high quality, like our collectors, look for, and have good value. So that's a big release for us, and we're just a few weeks away from it, which is great.
Yeah, I know that. I for one am highly anticipating it coming out. I've been on the list and been going, okay, let's go. So
yeah. So what's good is we're starting to see a lot more movement now as some aspects of COVID calm down a bit. I mean, we're still facing it here. We've got some reps out right now, so it's tricky. But at the same time, it's one of those situations where we're going to get through this, and it's nice to get to see some movement. So PG hockey is going to be right around the same time as Upper Deck Series 1, and then I'm really excited to see some movement on 2 products in particular that are multi-sport, Goodwin Champions and Skybox Metal Universe Champions, which again will feature a variety of content, but looking like March for those right now. So very, very excited to see those come into fruition.
You can't tell at all that I'm an Upper Deck fan and hockey fan whatsoever.
Well, the craziest one for me is our new AEW products. So yeah, we've been we made the announcement about it, and holy Zeus, I do a lot with our social media, and to see those fans coming out of the woodwork and just clamoring for product. The hobby product has done insanely well, but the retail drops tomorrow. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully that helps quell some of the concerns about getting product at a rational cost, because it's been a release that's just on fire. And I mean, I don't think any of us anticipated that it would be so well received in the hobby. So we're excited to be working on some new releases for AEW as well. It won't just be one release a year. Nice. And we'll make sure that we're doing everything we can to have that fan base be pumped and excited for everything we're offering. So that's good news. Yeah,
there's actually an I'll kind of sidestep, long fly ball. Welcome. He's actually got a question, and I'm a big, I'll say it, Timmy Hose, because that's how it's said in Canada. I'm a big Timmy Hose fan. Your reaction to the reception in Canada of the Timmy Hose releases, especially that there was 2 this year.
Yeah, so the standard NHL release did very, very well because it was pretty much the first hockey release, for Upper Deck for the year. And that was another situation that was difficult and delayed some of the other products, because the Tim Hortons releases are really large. I mean, if you think about it, every shop in Canada carries one, and there's a shop on every corner practically. So getting that out was a Herculean effort, but our team did a great job with that. And it was a bit of a surprise to folks when they did a double dip and offered a Team Canada edition to kind of get things started for the upcoming Olympics. So that's been really, really fun to see how well both releases have done. They've both done fantastic, which means, hopefully we'll see more of those in the future. But what I really love about this particular set, the Team Canada set, is that it contains female players. And like we were talking about with Sam, it's really cool to see some of the comments online of female collectors getting excited about collecting their favorite female hockey players. So Upper Deck recently did a deal with the Professional Hockey Federation for trading cards. So we're going to see some of their first offerings after their All-Star game. But to see female hockey players on trading cards and more releases and having a wider selection of them is going to be really cool. And it's unfortunate that they haven't been embraced as all types of players have. I had a situation just last week where we had a customer that was complaining that he got a female hockey player's autograph in their set, and had to explain to him, like, you got a really good one, actually. But part of that's education. But it's a bit frustrating to see that some of the female players haven't been that well embraced. But I tell you what, it is one of those situations for, I think, savvy collectors to maybe get in on some of those first female hockey player offerings, because I think it's the start of something pretty tremendous there. So hopefully we'll be doing more with female athletes, especially in hockey in the future.
Yeah. Female hockey players, hockey anytime, all time. And they, who was it? Someone in the chat asked about, here it is, Rich Frank. I'm in Texas. I dig Tim Horton cards. I have a buddy of mine that actually lives in Canada, and I get them that way. Is any way or anything about doing something for the fans here or anything like that with Tim Horton cards, or is that just a great big huge no?
Well, it's a lot of fun to see how everyone has a buddy in Canada, around Tim Horton's time. You either find them on Facebook or Twitter or what have you. So that is always fun. It deals with licensing. So Tim Hortons is the exclusive licensor of official sponsor of NHL in Canada. In the United States, it's McDonald's. So it would require McDonald's to look at running our program again. And McDonald's used to run it in Canada before Tim took it over. So I never say never, but unfortunately, it's not something that we could just add to Tim Hortons in the United States due to licensing restrictions. So it's one of those things.
Okay, so where do I sign the petition to get McDonald's to do hockey cards?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's McDonald's. It could be Dunkin' Donuts. So there's a little bit of I'm not as up to date on all their sponsors, but I just know that it's not Tim's in the U.S. right now. So we have been able to do some regionalized sets with Tim's in some locations. So those were team sets in the U.S., but not as compelling as the big offering that Tim's offers in Canada. So we'll see. We'll see how things continue to go. And Tim's is obviously doing great business. So who knows? They might, have a bigger presence in the States someday and take that sponsorship, and we'll be doing some amazing stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I covered southwestern Ontario and the province of Quebec when I worked at a software company, and so I've kept those relationships up.
Yeah, that's smart.
I've kept those relationships up. Oh, so I guess the next, we can talk. I guess we could talk about some Hall of Fame guy. Something happened today with the Hall of Fame. Something. I don't bless you.
Thank you.
I'm not.
Some
Hall of Famer got in or something like that.
We just got one person going in, right? David Ortiz.
Yeah. I don't understand why just one person got in to the Hall of Fame, but we got Big Papi in, and I love it when the Hall calls Big Papi.
Well, I mean, there's so much negativity and frustration around baseball right now. I think Big Papi is one of those bright lights for the league. You know, it was crazy what happened to him. He got shot in his hometown and made it back. But just such a lovable guy that everyone in Boston, you know, kind of adores. And, you know, I looked through the pricing on some of his premium cards tonight, and they're pretty darn reasonable, all things considered. So I definitely think he's one that, you know, is worth, you know, collecting and PCing and enjoying. Sam, what do you think about Big Papi getting the call?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the baseball is like, maybe not also my scene, but yeah, I think it's good that he got in. But I think as you were saying, Chris, with the pricing, yeah, he's not really a guy that I necessarily hear a lot of people saying they collect, at least anybody who lives outside of the Boston area. But I know he's obviously like a beloved player, but I just don't know if I hear as many people collecting him within the hobby, which, you know, could just be like an oversight, and hopefully his prices kind of reflect what he's done, you know, in the future as well.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the players that didn't get in, you know, obviously there's concerns about, you know, the performance enhancing drugs, but it's pretty crazy that, you know, Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds aren't making it in for what they, you know, you think about the Hall of Fame for what you do on the field, but I guess it's more than that.
Right.
Yeah. I'm confused as to why they've not allowed some. I mean, I'm still hacked that Shoeless Joe Jackson's not in. So
yeah, me too.
And you know, it's still Pete Rose completely floors me why Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame. But
well, yeah, and if it's personality, if people are saying that Barry Bonds had a bad personality and Roger Clemens, you know, was negative towards the end, you know, Ty Cobb was a jerk, you know. He had a terrible relationship with the media. So if you look at historically, it doesn't totally add up. But I don't know. Baseball's Hall of Fame, I think, is one of the more frustrating ones for a lot of people, and me included.
Yeah.
And how many years do they have eligibility to be in?
10, and then they go to the committees.
Okay.
10, and then they go to the committees. So
yeah. So this was the last year for Bonds and Clemens, I think. Is that right?
Bonds, Clemens, Schilling. And there's one more, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Someone in the chat will say it here in a second, and they'll give us the correct answer. I know that over the summer, I was looking at autographed baseballs because the Houston Autograph Company, they offered his autograph and an autograph signing for $350. And then I looked tonight, and the same autograph company had his autograph at $280, which was very interesting. I thought immediately, and that happened. I got that email right after the announcement, and then I started looking at Bond's cards, and there's still 150 to 190 is what, especially for the Fleer Ultra. So I don't, maybe tomorrow after eBay cycles. That they'll start, you know, but you know, whatever it takes, whatever. So there you go. Chris Harris got it. I knew there was another one.
Oh yeah, hey, Chris.
Former Texas Ranger. I should have remembered that. I should have remembered that. Yeah, we're going to celebrate here in February. Big Papi, Gil Hodges, Tony Olivia, one of my favorites, Minnie Minoso, another one, Jim Cott, Bud Fowler, and Buck O'Neill. And then we have a broadcaster, Jack Graney's getting in. So that's the committee did a fantastic job, in my opinion, of letting guys in. But man, that's one player in 2 cycles that didn't get. What, Sam? Is there anything that you think that can be done? I mean, Chris, anything that you think that could be done publicly or whatever to try to help this, or I don't know.
Well, I think personally, for the league to maybe get away from some of the old steroid concerns, is maybe doing something to bring positivity around it. And I think Shoeless Joe Jackson or Pete Rose, I still worry a bit about Pete Rose, could be nice stories that and I'd also like to see, maybe a little more for some of the old Negro League players still too. So I think there's a lot more that could be done there in terms of promoting positivity and the good of the game, so to speak. But Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar on the I guess the Hall of Fame kind of rules and eligibility, but yeah, I think kind of echoing the positivity would be helpful. But I also think just like yeah, the MLB might need to just kind of market itself a little bit differently moving forward. I think it kind of needs to move forward with future, not saying it's like in the past or anything, but just like I think they just have some different marketing tactics that they might need to introduce to get other people to really recognize, its history and where it's going to.
Yeah, it is a tricky time for baseball. My wife didn't realize how grave the situation was with the lockout, and I was talking to her about it. We're diehard Padres fans, and she's like, "What do you mean there's not spring training? Like, what's going on here?" I was like,
Yeah.
It's a lot that needs to be settled. So we'll see. And it's terrible because when I started at Upper Deck in 1997, the NBA had a huge lockout that year too, and we produced a ton of our Upper Deck Series 1 and a variety of other products because you print them so far in advance. You agree to league, how much you're going to make with the league, and then you've got them produced, and you're just looking at it all like, what the heck? No one wants any of this right now. So collectibles are one of the things that goes on the back burner first, and it's scary to me because the baseball card market has been so good over the last few years that this could potentially upset the entire market. So we really got to watch this one and hope that the powers that be figure it out, because a labor dispute doesn't really help anyone. And again, when I started and we had that labor dispute, we had to make some severe layoffs. I was like, I've only been here for like 6 months. I'm so getting fired today, So it was scary for sure, because we cut back a lot of different ways, but it was a struggle. So you think about all the uncertainty we have just in collectibles for baseball and what's to come, with Topps and Fanatics. What a lockout would mean would just not be good. So fingers crossed that it doesn't extend too much longer.
Yeah, I know fans of baseball just in general that still haven't forgiven for the World Series in '94. I mean,
yeah.
I could only imagine with all the fever. I mean, they're already losing momentum, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, hockey, the players are just amazingly accessible.
Yeah.
I can go to a Dallas Stars practice and wait and get just almost, there's 3 players I can't get, only because they take a different way because they're so popular.
Yeah.
They're like, but I mean, they're completely accessible. Basketball players, they sign on. I mean, racing, you want to talk about a sport that's, I mean, you could go down into the pits to get autographs before the race. I mean, football is just tons of autograph, TTM and all that. And then you got baseball players. Oh, I don't want to sign. They'll sign when they get to AA, but past that, they don't want to sign. And I don't get it. Yeah, Logan, look at Logan. I mean, 94 is when he switched from baseball and went to NASCAR. So, yeah, 94 just hurt the game immensely. So, with all the change that's coming down the road, who knows? Who knows? If they don't not careful, they could really hurt themselves.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Sam made a great point about baseball marketing itself differently with Fanatics and the licensing partnerships and all of the big heavy names they've got under contract. Shohei being the last memorable one that I can think of, who's not the face of baseball. That's Tatis, but if you go outside that, there are huge stars within baseball that are just not being promoted. And do you think, and you take your Upper Deck hat off for a second, Yeah. Do you think? I hope that Fanatics takes that bull by the horns. Is it? What do you think about Fanatics just really, really marketing?
I think it's still probably a bit too early to say. They have a lot of very smart people over there that are very dedicated to making sure that this works. So I think that they will absolutely figure it out. But again, if there's not players on the field playing, then that is a whole nother situation. So yeah, I think everything will be fine, but it gives me a reason for pause and concern, considering that the market has been on such a hot streak for so long. Many people believe it's due for a correction, and that type of situation will cause it pretty quickly. So one would hope that I think now, as opposed to maybe 5, especially 10 years ago, there's a lot more diversity in collecting with regard to, all right, I don't just collect baseball cards. I'll also collect this or that, or Marvel cards are hot now too. So I think that there's more things for people to switch to if I don't think a lot of collectors are going to just stop, period. But it will definitely slow them down and be really difficult for what should be, a celebration of some of Topps' last releases under, current ownership structure, or management structure. So we'll kind of see.
Sam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I could definitely see how the lockout, I guess it could work in two different ways of, maybe prices are getting lower and some people might see that as a time to go in and buy everything that they couldn't beforehand. Or they could, kind of take the other approach of, it's baseball is kind of down right now. Maybe I'll sway my efforts towards, the other sports I'm collecting or anything like that. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting just to see how it plays out in time.
Yeah. There's a great question that now you can put your upper deck hat back on and tell us anything new and exciting coming up in upper deck hockey.
Yeah, so we do have some of the new 2021, 22 releases coming out, like I said. So Upper Deck Series 1 and OPG will be out in February, but then we are getting to some of the premium releases that have been put on hold, more or less. So we're going to see Stature back, which was a very well received product. We're going to see Premier hitting. We're going to see Ultimate Collection, and I think people are going to be really stoked about the content that they're seeing in those releases. So the heavy hitters are coming out for hockey. Again, that'll probably be March through April-ish, and finally SP Authentic as well. So there's been some products that have just been stuck more or less, and now we're seeing a lot of movement on them. So I'm pretty excited that the next few months for hockey collectors will keep them very busy.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to say, back up just a hair. I want to say good evening, Bo. Good evening, Mr. Ryan, Rich Frank, NASCAR Radio, Chris Harris, Nathan, Matt, Royals 417, That 70s Card Show, DH, you know who you are, Dan, Mr. Chris Harris, Mr. Klein, and then let's see. I want to make sure I say hello to everybody because the comments are just, we really, really appreciate it. And absolutely. Mr. Al, greatly appreciate it. Sam, you and I were talking about Sports Illustrated for Kids and the Serena Williams card. Yes, that previously sold for $44K. It just sold for $111K. How awesome is that to hear? Not just a mainstream product and a mainstream athlete, but a prime superstar, strong. I could use every acronym in the world to describe Miss Williams, but how awesome is that to see that kind of growth and that kind of interest in her card?
Yeah, it's really awesome to see. Yeah, that sale, I think, I just saw it the other day. But yeah, it's amazing to see just kind of, I guess more recognition for kind of her efforts and her dominance within her sport. I think she's definitely, the best female tennis player, and there's probably, up for debate on, overall female athlete. But yeah, I think it's just kind of great to see that kind of movement in her cards. But yeah, with the SI card in particular, I'm not sure what the pop is on that card. I would imagine extremely, extremely low, just because I think the conditioning, everyone's pretty aware. I think Tiger Woods has a card that's similar, and but yeah, it's awesome to see that, and hopefully the growth just continues and spreads out to other, female athletes too.
Yeah, I'm all for more female athletes. I was a big collector in the 90s of the female athletes, tennis players, and I watched a lot of ladies tennis. I loved watching. I don't remember if you remember, Chris, during the U.S. Open when they started, because Serena's hit was almost reckoned like a 94, 95 miles an hour. They put a radar on her whenever she would hit the ball, and then it'd show the speed of the ball. Was just absolutely incredible. It was awesome. It was absolutely. So I would love to see more of that, especially the hockey women, the women in the hockey. I think we need more.
Well, Serena was the first female well, I take that back. It was Annika Sorenstam, I believe, was our first female spokesperson. But we've been working with Serena very closely on an exclusive relationship basis for a while. There is some amazing UDA memorabilia for her at upperdeckstore.com. And she's been in trading card releases like Goodwin Champions. So she does have content out there that's more current. But yeah, man, the things that she accomplished are insane. And it's not just on the court. It's so much off the court as well. And, to be featured in, specials just on her life. I mean, she's an inspiration. She's an amazing athlete, and she's a brand, just all of her apparel as well. So yeah, we've loved working with her. She's got a great signature, and not surprised that people are starting to take notice and pay attention and collect, who is probably one of the best female athletes in the last few decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but you mentioned it. A lot of people just think of Upper Deck as just the cards. And the other day I was on the website, and y'all do so much more than just cards, lithograph, merch. I mean, could you tell people what else y'all? I mean, I'm like blown away.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we learned a long time ago that there are going to be labor disputes in sports, so you have to, much like you would do with and licensing changes. So much like you would do with your personal finances, you have to diversify your portfolio so that you can weather any of the storms that could come up with regard to slowdowns in the market. So we looked at other types of properties that were out there that were doing printing in the late 90s, and we saw the collectible card game space was one that was ripe for us to make an introduction into. Wizards of the Coast was pretty much running things there with Magic the Gathering, and they're still doing an amazing job with that. So I believe our first release was Digimon, and then we had something called Professor Plug, but the problem was it was a bunch of sports card guys trying to make entertainment releases, and we were like, we got to bring in the right staff for this. So we really hired and brought some really talented people in to help make games. So now Upper Deck has some really strong offerings with regard to the gaming space, primarily with Marvel releases, but we have a variety of licenses. So you'll see things from X-Files to Buffy the Vampire Slayer for some of our games. And the Versus system is one of our most popular games, but the biggest for us is called Legendary. So a really fun deck building game that has several expansions that have come out over the years. And it's just been one that has been really, really well received. So we have it for Marvel. We also have it for Alien, Predator. Again, there's a lot of different versions of it. And that's been really good. So that is one space that has been big. And then tied to that is the entertainment trading card releases. So James Bond is one of our big properties right now, and we're doing James Bond games as well. But the James Bond releases, Villains and Henchmen was one that just came out that was really cool. We've got Marvel trading cards. Marvel Annual just came out last week, so that again, it's good to see releases finally coming out. That means good things for the market, and that things are starting to return to normal. So I've loved those. And then the authenticated memorabilia is a really big deal for Upper Deck as well. So, and if you think about it, if you really think about it, you look at the prices for a Michael Jordan autograph card, you know, $50,000, $75,000. It's crazy. But you can own a breaking through piece with a huge Michael Jordan autograph for $10,000, you know, and it's not like, oh, what a bargain, but you know, the pricing and some, obviously many of those are higher, but I was just looking at one for $10,000 the other day for myself, hoping like, but you know, so it just goes to show you that, you know, while the market seems to have plateaued on trading cards, maybe it hasn't done that for memorabilia yet. And maybe that's why we saw such a successful release in Monumental today, is that people see that, they look at what's out there, and $1,500 for 5 autograph UDA items is a pretty darn good deal. So yeah, that's been good. So those are our core business units that help. And yeah, it is very unique, the working situation here, where you've got, you know, the diehard sports fan, and then the person who's been like a comic book, you know, guy their whole life or gal. So it's fun, the mix of people here at Upper Deck. I think it makes us a lot better. Oh, and then, gosh, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention esports, which is a huge new opportunity in a category that we're basically building right now in cooperation with Blizzard, Activision, and now Microsoft has come in to take them. But our Overwatch League trading cards have done extremely well, and we're going to be doing a lot more in that esports space. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that boom, because it's another one of those deals where when I collected in the 80s, I would only buy baseball cards, and I would go into the hobby shop and I'd see the football cards there, I'd see the basketball cards and the hockey cards, but I was so programmed into just buying baseball cards because that's what everyone else did. But had I realized how much shorter in print the hockey, the football, and the basketball were compared to the baseball, where they just turned the printing presses on, let's be frank. So I wish I would have invested more into the other sports, but I was programmed that way. And I think it's the same type of opportunity. We talked about it with female players, trading cards and collectibles, but it's also the same, I think, with esports. So it'll be very interesting to see what that category looks like in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, thanks. I did, Sam, I heard something about there being Carolina Hurricane hockey cards, and then now there's women hockey cards that you could I mean, there's
yeah, it just sounds like hockey's, you know, pulling me in that direction. I mean, I just gotta follow it.
Every time you get out,
I am so putting together a little prize pack for you, Sam. So yeah, we're gonna hook up after this for sure.
There was a question, I'm not going to pull it up, you know, and a pretty good question. NASCAR in now completely, my wife walked in the door behind me and and I'm like, Goodwin Champions NASCAR possible, wink wink, nudge nudge, possible.
NASCAR, I mean, we'll always look at opportunities with particular drivers. I mean, Danica Patrick was in Goodwin Champions, and we look at other types of athletes like that. But when I first started with Upper Deck as well, one of my first jobs was arranging NASCAR sets to send to the league and to NASCAR and then to some influencers, etc. And I was like going through these cards, and I was like, oh, I never even thought in a million years they'd be making cards like this, and this is pretty cool. So I will say that fan base, that collector base, is super passionate, like crazy passionate. So I miss some of the people that we used to talk to and have relationships with that were just they will stay in their lane. They're NASCAR only, usually. So it's never say never, but one of the real issues with it is there's no players association for NASCAR. So you need to get individual approvals from the drivers themselves, which is really, really difficult. And we have the same thing with golf when we make our golf releases. So we've got to chase down each individual athlete and get them to agree to a deal. And it's very tricky because everyone wants Tiger Woods money, and everyone back then wanted Jeff Gordon money to be in there. So you have to value out what you're going to pay these athletes with regard to does it value out for the company to put out a product, and when you paid this much, so it's a tricky situation for sure to start some of these new types of products. Hoping that they'll hit and last. So NASCAR markets has been pretty stable, but I don't think it's as hot as it once was. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, I know that there's a couple of women in NASCAR now, like Haley Deegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Sam. I'm sitting here trying to come up with. I mean, I don't want to just like blow out the whole women thing, but I mean it's pretty important, pretty cool, and all that entails. What do you collect, Sam? Besides, we were ragging on you for not. What do you collect?
Yeah, so I know we've kind of talked about baseball, hockey a little bit.
Those things you don't collect.
I'm not as up to date on, but yeah, I do collect football, mainly. American football. I saw someone mention something about soccer, but yeah, I collect American football, and then I followed basketball too. So those are kind of my two main sports that I stay within. But I actually do have some like female athletes cards. So I have previously, honestly, for some of the female athletes, especially with the past Olympics, their only cards came from like previous Olympic type sets and different things like that. Like that was kind of their, so to speak, rookie card. So I have some different female athletes from there. I also do have a Serena rookie, I guess, too. So that's a little bit of what I collect. I guess the other females, though, I want to mention this too, is so I went to University of South Carolina. We have quite a few people in the WNBA, and I also love like Dawn Staley, so our head coach there. So collect any, I guess, like Gamecocks as well.
Yeah. Cool.
So were you excited when Cam Newton came back, or were you like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when Cam initially, I was never the biggest fan of him. And then when he left, that was fine. But then when he came back, for some reason, I was very excited for him to come back, more excited than I ever was initially for him to be on our team. But yeah, I was pretty excited for him to come back. I don't think it was the comeback that he wanted or the team wanted or really anyone it really wanted. But
there were still some fun moments though this year with
it
was fun. It was quite an up and down season, to be honest. I mean, we started 3-0 and then we ended like 5-12. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I'm just hoping we can move in the right direction this year. So
I went and bought a Christian McCaffrey card, and it tanked.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little worried about him. Just like the longevity of running backs in general is not good.
Crazy. I think about the football card market, and it's so tricky to hit. There's so many rookies that come out, and it used to be, back in the olden days, it used to be, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and running backs. And the running backs and wide receivers would last a long time, but that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So
exactly. I mean, you had like Todd Gurley. I remember I was still in college, so a couple years ago, I mean, he won essentially my fantasy league for me, and now he's like not even on a team, not on the practice squad, like not in the NFL. So yeah, it's just crazy how quickly those things can change for especially the skill position players.
Absolutely. And again, it's what I think a lot of collectors look for is that kind of like a Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame committees look for is that resume that's a long experience, a long career dominating. And so it's really hard to see that. And it's a shame that linemen and defensive players to some end get a little more love, but gosh, you just don't see much of it for athletes who are pretty extraordinary. So even tight ends, should get more love, I think, than they do, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I joined back in fantasy football this year after a 2-year hiatus, and I wanted to see really statistically who would be great rookies. I wanted to see statistically. So in fantasy football, they do the stats for you, so you don't have to. All you got to do is sort and go. In my league, a fascinating. Mac Jones was the number 3 highest scoring player in my league.
Wow.
Behind Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. And I'm going, wait a minute. If you watched his performance, it was up and down and up and down. But to say that about a rookie for outperforming like some of the better running backs and wide receivers, and that's scary. That was like a big stand up and notice. Any thoughts, Sam, on with some other product with a P that has a P in it, it's coming out pretty soon. I mean, how ridiculous are those cards going to be for him when those hit?
Yeah, honestly, until honestly like a month ago, it had not been called to my attention that certain products for the NFL are not even out yet. Flagship products are not out, which is interesting. So I just wonder what the delay will have an effect on in general. But it's interesting to hear that Mac Jones scored the most or third most in your league. To me, I mean, I just kind of know Mac Jones, I guess, from Alabama, and I think in general he's more like a game manager. He's not going to win you the game, but he's hopefully not going to lose it for you, and that's the best you can hope for. But he could prove everyone wrong. I don't know. I think it's interesting to see kind of maybe I think the delay on the product is just going to be interesting to see. I mean, you won't be getting those cards if you grade them or anything until the beginning of next season, hopefully. So that'll be interesting.
Any thoughts on that, Chris? He
reminds me a lot of like Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe it's a New England aspect to it. But Sam, you're right. The way he kind of manages the game, where he usually isn't going to get you hurt and make some good decisions, which I think Jimmy G does. So, but it's tricky to see what all these delays are going to mean. Like, the thing is, most hockey collectors are going to be, clamoring for hockey, so that's fine. Baseball, same, but football, basketball. But if injuries come up, especially in football, especially in basketball, I think injuries have take a much bigger toll. We look at Kevin Durant being gone for so long, and Klay Thomas, what have you, in basketball, and it definitely softened the market for some of their collectibles for sure. So we'll just kind of see. I mean, yes, Kevin Durant's rookies are still, amazing, but people just don't look at them the same if an athlete has a long injury. So if there's injuries and products aren't out for certain rookies, we saw what happened with Christian McCaffrey is a great example. So we'll just kind of see. So we hope that I hope that every aspect of the market stays as good as it's been, but there's so many X factors, and right now with delays in getting product out, it's just I'm not quite certain how each market is going to react to it. Yeah,
Joe Burrow last year. I mean, his cards didn't really decline when in the off season big like they normally would have during a typical yada yada yada, but coming back from that injury and his success this year, I mean, up and up and up and up, which is great to see. It's great
absolutely.
To see it. And with the Bengals' young core, I mean, that's gonna be a force to definitely a force to reckon with. You know what I mean?
Well, Sam, you probably watched him a lot in college too. I mean, he was amazing, and so I kind of expected him to have some success, but that injury hurt. But it's nice to see him have such a great comeback.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I really liked him honestly in college. Really, I liked him because they finally knocked off Alabama. That was
Yeah.
great to see. But yeah, I liked him a lot in college, and I think he had a good promise, for the NFL. Also, I think he was one of the older rookies. Like I think he's older than some of the guys, but in the previous draft class as well. But honestly, the one guy I was impressed with this weekend that I didn't see him play too much was Josh Allen. Like he really
Yeah.
surprised me. I knew people had talked about him, like he's good, like the Bills are good, but I was very surprised with like how well they did against the Chiefs.
And the other thing to kind of think about with some of these younger players, especially in the NFL, is and NBA, is they will, if they know that they're, a superstar,
Mhm.
and the star of the franchise, it's not unheard of for them to leap to a bigger franchise and a bigger market. So players like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, while they are surging right now and there is a lot of interest in them, they still might be a good value if they were to, move to LA, move to New York. You look at Matt Stafford. I mean, he's a game away from the Super Bowl, and he was dead in Detroit. So it's crazy what opportunities there are, I think, for some collectors to look at great players on lesser franchises and maybe make a speculation there that they may go to a bigger franchise someday and really blow up.
Yeah, we got a Facebook user question, and then I want to talk about our other topic that you and all three of us wanted to talk about. Do you have a date for the National Hockey Card Day and a timetable for the Cup hockey?
So yes, National Hockey Card Day will take place the same day as the Stadium Series. So it's printing now, which is great. So that's going to be out February 26th. We're pretty pumped for that one. So that one we've been able to keep on track because it is so important for us to do some of these larger sampling initiatives. Basically, all you got to do on National Hockey Card Day is go into a participating shop and say, "I'd like a free pack." They'll give you one. So it's
Sam?
pretty cool that Sam, you're going to be my female correspondent for National Hockey Card Day because I've got some great shops for you to visit in Carolina for sure. And then if you make a purchase, you can get an exclusive 16th card. It's a 15 card set, but the 16th card rounds it out. And it's so much fun. There's some fun content in there. There's Victory Black rookies. There's autograph cards that are a pretty tough pull for sure. But my favorite part is seeing fans on social media. It blows up. The feeds blow up for National Hockey Card Day because people will go all these different places, and then there's trading, and then there's events happening in shops, and it's really cool that it's taking place during the Stadium Series. I'm so excited. Nashville is one of my favorite towns to visit. So I'm heading out to Nashville to be a part of our presence there at the Stadium Series for an outdoor game, which will be a lot of fun. And the fact that it coincides with National Hockey Card Day as well is just a huge bonus for us and a great opportunity for us to expose fans to the side of being a collector. And so you think a lot about how did we get here? How did the market get so good? And yes, COVID and people being stuck inside, huge part of it. And a difficult thing for a lot of people that we shouldn't really celebrate as much, but it has been very good for the market. But I think what a lot of these programs like National Hockey Card Day have done is plant seeds all throughout, the U.S. and Canada for us on this one. And it exposes people who wouldn't normally collect trading cards. And I'm always a big proponent about programs like that. I think it's really cool that accessibility is something that people have issues with in this category. Obviously, getting premium releases, you don't have the pocketbook for that. But to be able to walk in a store on one day and get something for free and try it out, I think is pretty cool. My kids, our favorite day is 7-Eleven, July 11th. Yes. Because we will go to 3 different 7-Elevens in our area and get our free Slurpees. So That didn't happen last year because of COVID, but it happened this year, and we had a blast. So I love programs like that. I think it's a great way to encourage advocacy and expose people to a great product.
Yeah.
And then his other question was about the cup. So the cup is our most premium hockey release that we produce, very similar to Exquisite. There was a call for us to make an Exquisite hockey. And at the time, the cup was our most premium release. And I want to really credit Upper Deck for making a good decision there of not producing just another super premium, hockey release. What we did is we put out Exquisite, but we did it as an overlay program to strengthen other brands. So there is Exquisite hockey, but you have to buy artifacts, you have to buy ice, and then you'll get some in the cup as well. So I think that's really cool that we didn't crush the market for the cup on people who have invested in it so much. That we made Exquisite a complementary piece to our product offerings. So with regard to the cup, one of the tricky things about it is all hand collated. It is packaged by hand. So I know not many collectors have seen this, but traditionally trading cards are put into what's called a hopper, and it fires out at certain insert rates. And then these inserts go in there and they fire out at certain rates. They're packaged together, and you'll see the little seams on the cards, little creases on the wrapping, and then they're randomly inserted into boxes from there. So the cup is actually our product development team flown out to Carolina to work on the release and package it by hand. And it sounds like the funnest thing in the world to just spend days on end looking at the coolest cards, that a manufacturer makes. But I haven't done it myself yet. I've taken some pictures of it on times, but it is just back-breaking work, and you never want to see a hockey card again after this, from what I understand. So I credit our team for how hard they work on putting that together. So that will be our last release, but we normally don't talk about it until it's ready to come out. Usually it's like a 2 to 3 week window. So this will probably be the most you hear me talk about the cup until we're ready to release it.
Duly noted. We have one last topic that's near and dear to my heart that I really wanted to talk about, and that is charity in the hobby. And the reason why this came up in literally about 2 hours ago, I got asked by a charity to donate some autographs and some stuff. And we all know, had a passing. My dad left me some stuff. And I didn't say yes. I said, heck yes. And they asked for one item. I gave them 4 because it's a great cause. Leukemia, cancer. Yes, 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 yes. I think so desperately we need to remember, and we need to, as a hobby, do more and more for charity. And even if it's just going to a local children's hospital and donating your cards to the kids ward, even if it's just something simple as there's been several instances, and I know Upper Deck has participated in this, and thank you so much for doing this. But there's been kids that have had fires and lost their entire collection, and the hobby as a whole has a couple of people have taken the charge and had been a collator of just people just sending in massive amounts of cards. And here, young man, young lady, here's a set of cards to try to start opening your collection again. I think it is so important for the hobby to continue to do this. And I cannot stress this enough. If I don't do anything tonight, and the 19 people that are watching, the 20 to 25, the people that are listening to the podcast, the people, anybody within watching this, please do some type of random act of kindness. Do something for charity, for people that we are in such an amazing, awesome, loving hobby. Our community, that's why people stay in it. It's community. Let's continue to please be community and charity aspects. And I realize I'm rambling. Sam, go next.
Yeah, I agree completely with what you said. I think, the hobby in general, it has the ability to light up so many people. So given the opportunity to provide what you can through charity or the giving of these cards or memorabilia or what have it, I think is an awesome, way to kind of build up the hobby and just make people excited about the hobby and all the good that it can bring. So
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think about all the negative stories out there in our industry right now, and I've spent my life in this industry, almost 24 years working with Upper Deck, and quite frankly, I'll be damned if I'm going to be lumped in with some thief or second grade hood that's robbing people. That's not me. And that's not what this hobby is about. And that's not how so many people engage at this hobby. This hobby is a kind hobby. It is a good hobby. It is a caring hobby. And there's a lot more of us good people out there than there are of the people that are looking to take advantage of good people out there. So, I want to just do a quick show and
Oh, did he just freeze?
That we do is called Heroic Inspirations.
Please.
And you can write the big check to a charity. You can donate, a signed piece, what have you. And that's great. But I love what we've been able to do with our Heroic Inspirations program. And I want to show you guys a cool area of Upper Deck. Hold on, it's a little dark here.
Oh, cool. This is awesome.
This will be a little show and tell. But we have an area here called our Wall of Inspiration. And what I love about it is we've highlighted all the different people who would never have a trading card normally, but we made them for them. So This is Mandy Schwartz. Well, let me just give you a bigger look at
wow.
area, so you can see how many people we've been able to shine a light on. Mandy Schwartz, she's the sister of Jaden Schwartz. She passed away from acute myeloid leukemia. Jacqueline Murphy, she was featured on HBO Real Sports. Brain tumors, really amazing. We do a lot with kids, especially kids who've had cancer. Brady Kale was a great one. He founded Cards for a Cause. His friend had a brain tumor, and he started selling his trading cards to help his buddy out. So, I mean, there's so many of these great stories. And there's so many that we can still tell, but I just think it's really cool that Upper Deck allows us to, we're in a place of privilege, like you said, working in sports collectibles, and I think it's awesome that we've been able to leverage the power of our brand to tell some really compelling stories and raise funds for people, change lives. So that's something that we're not going to quit. The next one we have coming up, I'm very close to being able to announce, but it's of a dealer, a card dealer out of Chicago. And again, we talked about some dealers, might take advantage of people. He doesn't do that. What he does is bring youth to the National so they can experience trading cards for the first time. A lot of them are African-American kids who wouldn't normally have trading cards, and he says it came from something that he and I talked about one time at an industry summit, but I think it's been in his heart, and he's been wanting to do this on his. It definitely wasn't me; it's him. But I asked genuinely, why aren't there more Black collectors? How do we get more African Americans collecting?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, basketball, it's pretty much African American collectors. And as I look at the demographics, we have a lot of Asian collectors, we have a lot of white collectors, but why aren't there more African American collectors? And how do we get them? And I think again, a lot of this is what we talked about with Sam. People have to see it to know it's out there. So I think by shining a light on female collectors, hopefully we can let more female collectors in. They'll see like, oh, the water's fine. I'll come on in. Right. And I think it's the same way for African Americans and especially youth. So I'm really excited to share his story in the coming weeks. But it's something that I just love about working with Upper Deck is charity is near and dear to us, but we're really creative on how we execute. So that's a lot of fun too.
Yep, we're doing it. We're overtime on hobby overtime. Sam, any final thoughts? I know we wanted to keep it near and dear, but Sam, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think thanks, Chris, yeah, for kind of showing us around and the wall and kind of what all Upper Deck has done to promote, the good in the hobby. And yeah, I'm excited to just continue promoting the good and being a part of, something that I feel good about and I'm passionate about as well. So
Yeah. Chris, final thoughts?
Yeah, Sam, I'm definitely hitting you up on Twitter. We're going to send you a little pack. But I'd love to do more to shine a light on what you do with your group. And again, I think it's so important. But other than that, no, I think it's an awesome time to be a collector. It's awesome time to enjoy this hobby. And again, really, my parting thought would be, if you see ugliness and terrible things happening out there in the hobby, robberies, etc., just try to be a better part of the hobby. Do a random act of kindness, help someone else out, fill someone's set for them, because that's what makes this hobby so great.
I'm going to end it and say, as I did on my show before, if you need any prayer requests, please let me know. I'll pray you up. I pray every morning, bend a knee and pray during every single meal. So if you have a prayer request, reach out to me on Twitter. That's my Twitter. Wait, that's my Twitter handle right there. Support your local LCSs. Support your local card shops. Support your local card shows. Support, and stay classy and be giving, y'all. Have a good night.